Gunther is the current WWE World Heavyweight Champion. He has already cemented his legacy as one of the greats. He's had several of the longest title reigns in recent memory, put on countless banger matches, and has hardly had his shoulders pinned to the mat for a loss. He has also had multiple interactions with legends of the squared circle. He ridiculed Goldberg and Bret Hart. He faced off with DX and Kurt Angle, and The Undertaker has been singing his praises on podcasts. Here at Two Views Wrestling, we have already discussed a dream match of him versus Eddie Guerrero. So with this episode, we wanted to look at 5 past legends we think would match up well with Gunther. Before we start the list, remember to chop that like button and put a chokehold on that subscribe button. Now, let's start the list. We are going to kick things off with wrestling royalty. Number 5, Randy Savage. The Macho King versus the Ring General would sell out any arena in the world. They say styles make fights, and that would ring true with this battle. Gunther would be trying to beat down and wear out the smaller Savage, while Savage would be flying all over the place and using his speed to hurt Gunther. I think Savage is underrated for his ability to adapt to different styles. He also would sell great for the bigger Gunther and really get over what a destroyer he is. Same could be said for Gunther, as he would make us believe Savage stood a chance. In the end, I think Savage wouldn't be able to withstand the blitzkrieg from Gunther, and the Ring General would stand tall. My next pick is a guy that wouldn't be afraid to go chop for chop with Gunther. Number 4, Greg the Hammer Valentine. Forearm smashes, elbow smashes, knife edge chops, overhand chops. This match would feature all these in excess. Both of these guys' chests would look like raw hamburger after this war, and I would have loved every second of it. Valentine is one of my favorite Golden Age stars. He was an underrated Intercontinental Champion, had the best dog collar match ever, and was an all-around tough guy. Gunther would have his work cut out for him. As Gorilla Monsoon used to say, the hammer doesn't get warmed up until 10 or 15 minutes into the match. So it would be a long night for these two. Gunther is very similar to Greg's father, Johnny Valentine, so this would have been a cool match to see. Once again, I think Gunther walks away with his hand raised, but it would be a hard-fought victory. The next guy was double tough and just as crazy. Number 3, Terry Funk. Gunther would have had a hell of a time trying to put away the Funker. Terry Funk was a Texas brawler from a famous wrestling family. Both his father and older brother were huge stars in the business. Terry would far surpass everything they did. I've recently seen a match between Terry and the monster Bruiser Brody in Japan. It was a violent, bloody affair. Terry held his own in that match, and I think a match with Gunther would see Terry give as good as he got and more. Throughout Terry's legendary career, he would show his ability to adapt to the changing ways of the business and excel. So, if Gunther wanted to grapple, Terry would be right there with him. If Gunther wanted to go to the floor and brawl, Terry would scrap to the death. Gunther would win this one, but it wouldn't be so much of a victory, but more that he survived it. The next guy executed his moves elegantly. Number 2, Bret Hart. Bret Hart is one of the best technical wrestlers in history. Him and Gunther could put on a great grappling clinic. Bret was also great at telling a story in his matches. If you look at his WrestleMania matches with Steve Austin and Owen Hart, those matches had great action, and the action told a complex story. Gunther and Bret could tell another compelling story. Not only would you have the bigger man versus smaller man aspect, but the smaller man is a better wrestler than the bigger man. Looking at both guys' history, Gunther has worked well with smaller guys like Pete Dunne, Tyler Bate, and Sami Zayn, and Bret had classics with big guys such as Bam Bam Bigelow, Yokozuna, and The Undertaker. So a match between Gunther and the Hitman is a guaranteed instant classic. This would be a hard match to pick the winner, but I don't know if Hart could withstand the onslaught from Gunther, and in the end, Gunther would break the Hitman's heart and put him away. The final guy on this list has had a ton of gold around his waist and around his neck. Number 1, Kurt Angle. The Ring General versus the Wrestling Machine. 2007 era Kurt Angle versus 2024 Gunther would be a berserker versus juggernaut matchup. Gunther would have to be perfect to beat Angle. Angle could get you to the ground and wrap you up in all kinds of holds. He could suplex you right out of your boots. And just when you think you got him figured out, he busts out a moonsault or a 450 splash. But at the same time, I don't know if Angle could withstand the chops and all-around brutality brought on by Gunther. If this dream match were to take place, it would ensure that Angle gets a 5-star match rating from a certain scrub wrestling journalist. This would be a war of attrition, and I think it would come down to endurance. So I would have to give the nod to the Olympic gold medalist Kurt Angle in this one. It might be hard to pick a winner, but one thing is for sure, it would be a classic professional wrestling match.
So some things that jumped out to me on the list was, number 1, Greg the Hammer Valentine. I'm not totally familiar with his work. I've never really watched a match of his. I know he's a legend. Same with Terry Funk. I know he's a legend. I have seen his matches. Unfortunately, I remember him more as Chainsaw Charlie. I love the Macho Man call out. Kurt Angle, obviously, solid choice. I think everyone would love Kurt Angle and Gunther. And then Bret Hart, I love that choice. And all I'm thinking about is him face Gunther would be a chess match in a wrestling ring. It would be a phenomenal story of in-ring work. I don't think they would need any, they don't need to leave the ring. They would be able to tell a beautiful story just in the ring. They don't need to use anything on the outside to build drama. The name that I was surprised to see not on your list, though, and I think is a good choice is, well, Eddie Guerrero, but we already covered him. Stone Cold Steve Austin. I like the idea of, Austin's whole thing was a realism of Hulk Hogan, I feel like. And Gunther is like the epiphany of like that to Austin.
Yeah.
He's just like, he's the final boss. So, I guess The Rock's the final boss, but Stone Cold ran through that boss. So it's like, on to the next guy.
The Stone Cold would have been cool, but I tried to go with guys that could meet Gunther wherever he went. Like if he wanted to grapple, they could grapple. If he wanted to like make it a fight, they could fight. Austin, I feel like would just be the straight fight, so I didn't know how that would work out. I went with Funk because I almost went with Mick Foley. I just wanted someone that was like almost indestructible and just watch Gunther beat him down. And Funk edged it out because of the grappling. And then the Greg the Hammer Valentine, that's like I said, they would just go chop for chop, and I would just love it.
What I like about you mentioning Mick Foley and Funk is, for Funk, there's a believability for me where he could win the fight. Like Mick Foley ain't fight, like he ain't gonna beat Gunther. But Terry Funk, he looks like the type of guy that's like, hey, you're not pinning me, dude. You're gonna have to kill me. So I really like the idea of him and Gunther with that aspect to the story.
Yeah, and if anybody hasn't seen it, look up the match with Bruiser Brody. Like that gives you a good idea of what Funk could do with when he was outsized, and they had a good brawl in there. So yeah, I just tried to get guys, like I said, that could match up with him well in all aspects of his game. And I get chills thinking of 2007 Perk Angle and Gunther just going at it.
All right. So in the comments, let us know your views on who you would like, what legends you would like to see Gunther work with if we had a time machine and Gunther could go back in time.